In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the water pump on your Ford Explorer. It's located right down on the front side of your motor. On the lower passenger side of your radiator, there's going to be a drain right here. We got our drain can here. Go ahead and turn this counterclockwise. We're going to unscrew that. And this should open up our drain. And at this point here, we're pretty much at a slow drain. We're gonna go ahead and close this drain here. Now from underneath the vehicle, we wanna go ahead and take our belt tensioner tool. We're gonna reach up here from underneath and move the tensioner. We'll go ahead and remove the belt from the top. We're gonna go ahead, use our flathead screwdriver, loosen our upper intake tube clamp to our throttle body. We want to disconnect this connector right here to the sensor. You're going to press down on the back side. Normally you can just pinch that and pop that off. We're going to use our pocket screwdriver, just going underneath. Our sensor just popped right out with the connector on it. Your mass airflow, press down on the spring tab. If it doesn't want to come out, apply a little bit of pressure there. You do not want to pull on the wires, but you can use a small flathead screwdriver and gently work this off. Be careful not to damage the plastic. Slide that off. And we want to go ahead and separate the upper lid of our air box. There should be 2 clamps. Pop that up and repeat for the other side. Once those are disconnected, we can go ahead and remove our upper intake tube and work this lid off and set the whole thing aside. We want to use our tool for this clamp here. I'm going to work that back. And go ahead and release that. Now I'm just going to work this clamp down if I can off of the hose, and then we'll work that hose off. Kind of bring that clamp down at an angle, and we'll try and get a hook in there. We'll use our pick to see if we can get up underneath that hose, and we'll start to work that off. It looks like we got our hose loosened here. Let's try and work that off the water neck. And then we can remove our clamp. If your hose is flared out here, you definitely want to go ahead and replace that at this time. It's not recommended to put that on because that is a weak point now on that hose. Go ahead and remove your belt. So what we just do is we use the pry bar to lock our water pump pulley in place, and then we used our tool to go ahead and loosen the fan nut on the front here. So what we have to do is we have to remove the fan with our shroud at the same time. So in order to do that, we have to loosen that fan. We're going to continue to do this. We're going to hold on to the water pump pulley. And in most cases, we can hold on to that pulley and spin that fan, and you can see that nut spinning off with it. We're going to unthread our cooling fan right now. And eventually it'll drop off and it'll just rest like that. It'll rest inside the shroud. Let's now go ahead and remove the hardware for our fan shroud and pull this out. On the upper portion of our shroud here, there's going to be an 8mm bolt right here. There's going to be one on the passenger side as well. Go ahead and loosen and remove those. Let's go ahead and grab our shroud and our fan together, and let's see if we can remove this. I'm just going to take a little bit of manipulation here to get us up and out. Go ahead and pull the fan out. And then the shroud. Go ahead and loosen these two clamps for our lower radiator hose. I'm going to use our 8mm socket, loosen these. We'll basically slide this hose off of our water pump if we can. On our upper hose here, we want to go ahead and loosen this. Go ahead and work on this clamp here, loosen that and work that back. See if we can grab a hold of that hose there, and we'll just kind of loosen that. Now on the front side of your engine, this is pretty much how the water pump is going to be orientated. Low radiator hose, and then you have the two hoses on the top. Now there's going to be a series of bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bolts we need to loosen and remove. I'm going to go ahead and get to that right now. I'm going to use our 13 millimeter socket and ratchet. And let's go ahead and start to loosen these here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these here as I go around. Now what you may want to do is when you start pulling these bolts out, you want to remember where these actually go. Some are going to be long, some are short. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these up and put them in the corresponding hole in the new water pump. I'm going to go ahead and set that like that and just set that down. Now I'm going to, as I remove them out of the original water pump, I'll clean them and put them in position here. Now these long studs here, I'll have to switch over to the ratchet for clearance purposes, so I don't hit the radiator. These particular studs go into the water jacket of the engine, so they're going to need to use thread sealant on these bolts upon reassembly. Now that we have our bolts out, we're going to go ahead and try and separate the water pump. The only thing holding the water pump now is the lower radiator hose, so now we can go ahead and try and work that out like so. And go ahead and remove that. Let's go ahead and remove our gasket. It's coming off in pieces, so we're going to have to get in there and clean that. Now let's go ahead and remove our hose off of the bottom of our water pump here. Just want to go ahead and see if we can twist this a little bit to get that off. We have a bit of corrosion on there. So you can use a pick, whatever you have available, to go ahead, kind of work that around. What you're working with might look a little bit different. You might have a longer hose or something like that. Our particular vehicle has a short stubby hose here. I'm going to clean up the inside of that and get that ready for reinstallation. Now we have some leftover gasket material here. You can use your gasket scraper. It's kind of tough to get in there, but you want to be careful not to gouge the aluminum. And we're lightly just kind of cleaning off the residual pieces of gasket here. Our gasket is coming off pretty easy. And then once we're done getting the gasket off, we're going to go ahead and use solvent to just clean the surface of where the gasket, our new gasket, is going to go. Let's go ahead and install our lower radiator hose here. I'm going to take our gasket and line that up to where it needs to go. I'll take one of these upper bolts, line that up. Let's go ahead and lower this down. As we lower this down, we're going to go ahead and install our lower hose onto the lower port. And we're going to get this bolt started. And we'll get this bolt started. And then we'll go ahead and get a lower bolt started there, and we'll go ahead and snug this down. ahead and install our shroud and our fan. We have to do this together. I'm going to go ahead and lower this down. I'm going to set this down into place. On the front of our water pump here, there's just a little rubber cap. I'm going to pop that off. Bring our fan up into place. And we're just going to spin that fan to get that threaded on. Once you have the fan in place here, you can actually rotate the water pump pulley by hand. I'm going to spin that there until it's bottomed out. Now before we tighten that, let's go ahead and get our fan shroud mounted into place. Now there are tabs on our fan shroud itself, and these want to fit down in the lower portion. And once those are in, then we can go ahead and get our bolts installed on each side of our shroud. We'll go ahead and install our bolt here. Go ahead and snug that down. I just want to snug it into place. I just want to keep it from rattling loose. Let's go ahead and repeat for the other side. Install our upper radiator hose. Now I want to go ahead and tighten up our clamp on this side here. Now we're going to tighten our fan. We're going to use the tool that we use to remove the fan. Use our pry bar up against a water pump pulley and a nut. We're going to go ahead and tighten the nut on the fan itself to the shaft of the water pump here. Let's go ahead and install our belt. We're going to go ahead and run our belt around the crankshaft and around our idler pulley, and then we'll run up around the backside of our water pump pulley. Now from underneath the vehicle, I'm going to go ahead and run that belt around my crankshaft, around my lower idler pulley, and feed that up around the back side of my water pump pulley. And run the belt over to our alternator. Now our belt is run generally in the right direction where we need it to have put on all of our pulleys, but this belt has to go underneath this idler here. Let's go ahead and run our belt around our idler here. We're going to finalize putting the belt on from underneath the vehicle. It's going to be easier for us to access our tensioner that way there. We're going to go ahead and bring our tensioner back here. We're going to bring our belt around to our other idler. Go ahead and release our tool. And you want to go ahead and give that belt a tug. You want to do a visual inspection, make sure that the belt is in all of the pulleys correctly. Everything's lined up. Everything looks good from here. Let's go ahead and back to the top. Go ahead and remove your radiator cap. And if you have your funnel, go ahead and install your funnel. And once your system is filled up, I want to go ahead and install your radiator cap. You want to go ahead and start up the vehicle, go for your road test, put the heating system on high. You want to go ahead and let that system open up, let the thermostat open, cycle that coolant through. Then after driving for a little bit, let the engine cool down. Then you want to go ahead and check that coolant level and add it as necessary. Install an airbox lid, put these 3 tabs into our base. As we lower this down into place, we want to install this onto our throttle body here. Install the locking clamps on our airbox lid. Do the same for the other side. I'm going to install our harnesses here. So line that up. Squeeze it into place. We have our temp sensor right here. I'm going to line that up, pop that in. Let's tighten down our hose here to our throttle body. Make that snug.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.